I've added some new layers, and in these layers I've come up with a pretty good layout or arrangement of texture to add some value to the surface. By playing with these different stamps, I'm able to create some lumps and bumps, some unique striations, and some noise, even some smooth areas where the surface tends to be a little bit more edged or chiseled. What's nice about this option, again, is you can always make changes in your sculpting layers by adjusting your opacity of each layer. If I want to come in and add another layer, let's say to maybe add some cracks, I'm going to go up again to new layer. I'll call it layer cracks. And on my surface with my sculpting brushes, I'll play a little bit with some options here. Knife is always a good option to use when you want to add some cuts to your surface. What you want to do though is make sure that your settings are set correctly. With my actual brush size set to 0.3, my quality is going to be a little bit small. I'm going to change this to 1. One thing to note about using the knife is you never want to push too far. This will create issues when you create your normal maps, and also adds artifacts to your sculpt. Sometimes if you push in too far, you'll actually reach the other side. This happens a lot with thin surfaces, for example if you're doing a goblet. I'm going to go ahead and undo this, and I'm going to choose a very low setting on my strength. What's nice about this is I can come in here and add some depth. If you use some options here, such as pinching, again at a very low tolerance, you can get these areas to taper, which actually gives you a more realistic look. When you're done with your sculpting layers, what's a good idea to do is flatten these. Save your Mudbox file as an example. I have this saved as rock example, but I would save it off as something such as maybe rock work in progress, rock with layers, so you know to come back in and work with this later. Once you flatten these layers, you can't undo this. To flatten layers, it's a lot like Photoshop. You're basically taking all that information that you've been adding in layers and making it into one file. The nice thing about this, and eventually with paint layers, is that you won't have multiple exports, since you really only want to have one set of texture maps that you're exporting. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on these layers here, and it says Merge Visible. When I do that, I need to make sure that all of my layers are at 100%, or at least where I want them to be. Once I do Merge Visible, again, keep in mind, it's going to flatten that. I could also just do Flatten. Once I have this done, I now have my base sculpting layer here, and I'm ready to move on to my painting. That doesn't mean that I have to flatten these before I paint. It's just a process that I'm showing you here. In the next video, we're going to take a look at adding some more detail via painting.